Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. We are back for our weekly hangout, and I have the pleasure of announcing that we have our three generals back with us: General Ravi Shankar, General Raj Shukla, and General Harimohan Iyer. Namaskar, everyone, sir. How are you?
Oh, thanks a lot. We are fine. Good, Nick.
Very good, sir. General Shankar, I am curious. This thing is becoming and more, interesting. Like Trump said, he'll come in November. Now he says, I've changed my mind. I'm not coming. Beyond all these theatrics, that's how I see it. What is the real situation on the ground? Should India start looking at itself as somebody who needs to, take on US also militarily? I don't want to go to that extreme step yet, but I'm just a little confused about how the whole thing is going. So this is where I'd like you to set the stage, and then we'll bring in General Shukla and then General Harimohan Iyer. Over to you, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Mr. Sri Iyer, for coming. We are into the second round of the Ghana site, and it's a great feeling always to be with my Ghana compatriots. Having said that, India and USA being military rivals, that's not on the cards at all. Let's be very clear. We are just about half a continent apart each for both of us. India and USA can never be military rivals. So whatever issues are, and this is historic. India has never considered USA a military threat, nor has USA considered India a military threat. Right? Not even a rival. So that is out of the question. You see, it's also geographic. We have a border with China which we can't wish away. So that's where the rivalry comes and the adversarial relations come in. So I think the context is completely different with USA. USA, I don't think is even our long-term adversary. Right? USA will do its own trick, and we will do our own trick, and that's what our history is. We might not be always in the same side of the fence. In fact, for very little part of our history that we have been on the same side of the fence. Most of the time we are on the opposite sides of the fence in some form or the other. Presently we've gone back to the opposite side of the fence. But I suppose the way things are connected between India and USA, sooner or later we'll get back to being one side of the fence. I mean, that's the nature of our relationship. And this is going to be temporary with Trump around. But the larger relationship is between USA and China, which will dictate our behavior, right? And which will dictate our rise. You see, the larger issue which I would like to frame is this. Ever since the turn of the century, there was only one superpower, right? And slowly over a period of time, two powers started rising. And both these powers, India and China, the rise is different along different trajectories. China has risen much faster, and it has assumed proportions where today we all talk of a Cold War between China and USA. But equally troubling for most, or rather concerning, or where people have to take notice, is the fact that India is coming. India is rising. Much depends on what kind of a power India will be, but that's a different story. So I think this is the thing which we need to set. We could talk of the, like as your heading suggested, the new Cold War between USA, China and India. But the Cold War is largely between USA and China. We are just a corollary to that in the larger frame. Yeah, back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. General Raj Shukla, you have a unique perspective. You are still an active your role in the government. Not that the others are not. Everybody, each and every one of you are extremely active, even though you've been not part of the Indian Armed Forces. General Shukla, I mean, India has done everything right in terms of political diplomacy, in terms of how they have approached the free trade deal. They have not said anything out of step. And yet, there is a lot of vitriol coming over from the other side. According to you, what is really going on? I mean, free trade agreement that has been talked about, India doesn't hurt a whole lot. Yes, a few things will be more expensive, and already that is being felt by the people. For example, I'll give you a simple example, sir. Sona Masuri rice has gone up by 100% in the last 6 months. And this is our staple. Without rice, dal, nothing else happens, and it's gone up, and 100%. So is it the beginning or is it the end? We don't know. So things are becoming a little difficult. And how do you see it? Because you're straddling a lot of lines of authority in India, and you probably can give us a little bit more into the thinking in the Indian government.
I have no idea what the Indian government is thinking, but of what I am thinking, I can just share with you. So when you sent the heading, you WhatsApped it, the new Cold War, and I jumped on it very enthusiastically, because I've been saying for a while, it does seem to me that we are in a new Cold War. Of course, it is not the same as Cold War 1.0, but the Sino-American competition is pretty intense. It's almost a fight to the finish. In fact, Christopher Wray, I think the former director of FBI, said it's a whole of society contest. And it's unfolding in many ways. Of course, it's very different from Cold War 1.0. Because in Cold War 1.0, it was the Soviet Union, which was a military giant, but a technological and economical midget. At no point did the Soviet economy exceed even 40% of the US economy. Today, in PPP terms, China is already larger than the USA. In technological terms, it is ahead of the USA. So it's a very different Cold War. But what is happening in the Cold War, and now that is the real question. The challenge for India, of course, is this aspiring Vishwabandhu, how it navigates this contest between a challenged hegemon USA. I've said this many times, I think on the first show also I said it, and a risen challenger. So that's the first point. And what seems to have changed in this recent statement of President Trump, which I heard from you for the first time, that he's not coming, I presume, for the Quad in November. The big change is this, that Trump and MAGA do not see India as a partner any longer. They see in India an economic and strategic rival. And this is just my assessment. I presume that MAGA is whispering into Trump's ears that, listen, we made big mistakes with the Chinese. We got them into the WTO. We did all that we could. And China is a real threat to USA. It's a near peer in many areas. Should we commit the same mistake with India? And I think that is really the nub of the matter. The rest, flat trade tax, Nobel Prize, those are peripheral issues. Because I cannot see any reason why a Indo-US relationship, which was talking about from the stars to the seas, should suddenly dip in such a comprehensive manner. As H1B, everything is an issue now. So I think what has changed in the Trump-MAGA view is that India is not a partner, and from their perspective, let me make 2-3 more points. Just from the American perspective, I'm not agreeing with them, but from their perspective. जैसे जब हम इनसे कहते हैं कुछ करने को तो ये नखरे करते हैं, strategic autonomy, so much of diffidence. By the way, offline conversations with many Americans will tell you that they've not been happy with us over the last 4 or 5 years, over Indus X and all that. Because India, in all that, I think J.D. Vance made the statement. He says, if you are a strategic partner, behave like one. So there is a huge gap between American expectations and what the Indians are prepared to do. That has forced Trump to conclude that India, is no longer a useful partner. It is an economic rival, a strategic rival. Also, in China, in my view, America seems to have concluded that in their present predicament, they cannot take on the Chinese. So they must retreat to the Western Hemisphere to heal the economy, to repair the military. And therefore, they have taken a strategic view of the relationship. And they feel that neither is India willing to counterbalance China in the manner that they would expect. nor do they need it because they are retreating to the Western Hemisphere. So I think that is the principal reason why we have suddenly seen, this great, shall I say, downside in Indo-US relationships, in the Indo-US relationship, and therefore all the propping up that they are doing to Pakistan, the minerals and crypto and all that kind of stuff. So I'm saying Cold War 2.0 is very much active. Ukraine could have been the first hot war of Cold War 2.0. Taiwan may be the Cuban Missile Crisis in reverse, and India, which was seen by the Biden administration as a balancer, the Trump MAGA views that it's not worth taking a chance on India. I may be wrong, but this is how I read the situation, and let's see what Hari has to say.
Thank you so much, sir. General Harimohan Singh, your initial statement, and I have a few observations from an American perspective. I'll come to that afterwards. Over to you, General Harimohan Iyer.
Thank you, Mr. SREE, and great to be on your show again. Firstly, I view the current situation a little differently, and I believe the trade between India and the USA, as it stands today, is a tipping point. We are having a trade surplus with the US. I believe it's close to $50 billion, and something which Trump has been saying right from the day one. The second thing is, I believe Trump has made some big promises to his electorate, especially the farmers, and he believed that since he could personally speak to the Prime Minister of India, he can push his way through as far as the free trade agreement is concerned. So I personally believe the start of the current situation, I won't call it a crisis like General Shankar. I also agree that India and US can't be rivals. We may have misunderstandings or we may not agree on a particular aspect, but that does not mean that we are on a different equation altogether. There are very many lines in which we are connected, and we'll stay connected on that. So in that context, if you look at the trade agreement which was being pushed, I believe there were huge concessions being sought by the Americans as far as farming areas of farms are concerned. And that was something which I don't think any politician in India will ever yield to, because it is possibly going to be his personal downfall. See what happened to the Prime Minister of Japan when he yielded to the Americans. He had to quit. So the situation is going to be, would have been very similar to that in India had we agreed to it. And I guess we have played hardball as far as the trade agreement is concerned. The fact that even the current set of negotiations didn't go the way it was promised to go indicates that we are holding our ground and not yielding to the pressure which the Americans are putting on us. The fact that they are leaning on to Pakistan, they are trying to put a pressure saying that we will, go back to the pre-millennium era when the Americans used to always lean on to Pakistan. But I guess that train has left. We are far ahead of that. We cannot be hyphenated with Pakistan anymore. We are a very, very strong economy and can't be pushed into agreements of this nature just because someone puts some overtures towards a nation which is inimical to us. So in that context, I guess there's going to be a large amount of hardball which is going to happen between India and the Americans. As far as the Cold War, which you have put as part of your the discussion today, I look at it as a triangle with India at the apex and the Americans and the Chinese at the base. When I look at that, if you look at a handheld taraju, we are the ones who are back holding the balance. The moment a weight goes on one side, the other guy comes closer. So if you see what happened when Prime Minister Modi decided to go and attend the SCO, he put the weight on the other side, and it appeared that we have gone closer to China. And it sent a lot of ripples across Americans. So the kind of social media that went out that we have actually lost an ally. So there is a lot of weight for as far as what India does, and we are a major player. We can't be treated in the manner in which MAGA or the Americans think they can. We will hold our ground. And being the voice of the global south, we are a nation to play with. And in this possible chess game, we will be possibly that knight which holds the key. We cannot get checkmated just because somebody has got all the moves. We will be a crucial cog in the wheel, if I was to use the word, and we will play equidistant once again the way we did when the earlier version of the Cold War happened. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I have put out a story, I think at maybe 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. or something like that in the last 24 hours. I don't remember when it got released. So I actually did a study on the H-1B visa. Does it hurt or does it help America? And there is one reference that I have provided viewers. Do read it. That's a congressional document that studied this. And the average consensus is that if the H-1B visa is issued correctly, and I have to underline and put it in bold, if it is issued correctly, that one H-1B position actually creates between 5 to 7 US jobs. 5 to 7 US jobs. So somewhere MAGA is not really, looking at this thing. Also, it's now established beyond a doubt that Silicon Valley is the biggest beneficiary of H-1B. And where is MAGA? MAGA is not in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is solid Democrat. And also, see, the Democrats for politics and hardcore capitalists for in terms of starting companies and exploiting it. One in three startups today is run by an Indian American. What are you talking about, MAGA? Come take a look at the valley. Look at the people who are working. See, 1 in 10 startups only succeed. For somebody to fall flat, then pick themselves up and start another company and succeed, it's not a joke. MAGA needs to really wake up and smell the coffee. I'm an American here. I'm an American citizen. I'm telling you, your distrust, your taking aim at India is totally misplaced here. Anyway, that's just my comment. I have given all the numbers. Viewers, those of you who have not watched it, take a look at that and read the references. Now, let's get back to General Ravi Shankar. General Ravi Shankar, on the one side, we are having this going on. On the other side, India is continuing to conduct exercises with America. I'm sure all the other things are still going on. Somewhere things have to kind of fall in place. And I am told, and this is not out in the open, but I am told India has said that to even get to serious nuts and bolts, the 25% tariff of US imposing just because India is buying Russian oil, they have to make a statement that is off the table. And so far, the Trump administration has not done that. This is my information, sir. I could be horribly wrong about it. Number one. The second red line that India has said is no agri imports. Dairy, there may be some leeway, but as far as agri imports are concerned, anything to do with agri, no imports. That's what I'm hearing. Again, I could be wrong. So this is the commercial part of the thing. But on a day-to-day basis, nothing has changed. We continue to live our lives. We continue to work hard. I don't see any difference in the lifestyle. I mean, an average Indian American, unfortunately, is getting buffeted like crazy right now. Especially in United States, layoffs are really, really picking up. Many times, both husband and wife are out of job. So there is a fair amount of churn going on also. I must say this thing because I know everybody around me, we're all suffering. And that is overall. This is the state of the economy. I'm rambling a little bit, but what I'm asking is, we need to still stay patient and hope that clarity will emerge. In your opinion, this is the question. When do you think clarity will emerge? And same question to all three of you. Let's start with General Ravi Shankar.
Look, there is complete clarity with India. Let me put it this very clearly. There is complete clarity in India as to how to deal with USA. There is complete clarity in India as to how to deal with China. I have no doubt about it. Right? We are going to be patient with both. And we've drawn a hard line with both. Right? And we've opened out our lines with others. See, I have to go back to a formulation which I've been talking of, which I've always spoken of. This formulation I get from what the Chinese have written. This is from the Chinese writing. The Chinese believe there are 5 poles in the world, right? And these 5 poles being India, USA, China, USA, Russia, EU, and in India. Okay. Now, in this kind of a formulation, you need 3 poles to coagulate or get onto each other, and the fourth and the fifth pole can be ignored. That's the way the global politics is. Okay. Everyone says Europe is dead. I have a completely different view about it. Europe as a whole together still outweighs the US economy. Okay. Everyone says China is progressing technology and all. Raj talks of it. But that economy is in deflation and it's heading into stagflation and it's almost irreversible. Okay. Right? So, I mean, you have the capability, and the only economy which is growing, right, at the rate 6 plus is India. I mean, look at it. And this I heard from a Western guy. He says, look, India's growth is such that it's growing at about, say, 6.57%. Right? If America does what it does, it might, instead of growing at 7 or 7.5%, it will grow at 7 or 6.5%, 0.5%. He says for India, it's rounding off. So what? It's okay. It's still growing at 6.5% or 7%. Doesn't make a difference. But for countries like Japan, countries like even Germany, USA, and even China, a difference in growth of 1.1 to 0.2% makes a huge difference. Right? It's a huge difference. For us, it's rounding error. It might be even statistical error for India. So to that extent, you know, that's the way I look at it, and that's the way many people also started looking at it. India's time has come. We might fault India for many things, right? We might not be technologically up to it. We need to modernize. That is all internal to the story. That is a debate we can have why we should modernize faster. But overall, we've reached that level of strength, right? That no one dares finger us, like in the good old days. Once upon a time, if America had done the switch, say 5, 6 years back, we would have had a lot of reason to worry. But the fact is, it has done the switch. We say all the best to you, all the best to Pakistan. Carry on. And all the best to China. You know, this switch, actually, if you see the switch of Pakistan and America with each other, has hurt whom? It has hurt China the most. Chinese had this grand design of having the second theater command in Gwadar. So less than 100 kilometers away, Pasni is going to come up as an American base. Right? End of story. Both their economic interests lie 50 kilometers apart in Sandak and Reykjavik, and they are coming there. The Americans are not turning back from there. Okay? The Canadians have helped them already. Barrick Gold has already helped them. So you're going to see a battleground next door. Actually, you've got a ringside view to say, okay, why you keep fighting, do what you want. The three-cornered chess game is now between Pakistan, China, and USA. You are on the ringside. You get together with Russia. You get together with EU, and EU is very keen to sign. I mean, that EFTA has already been signed. A normal FTA with the EU, the bulk of EU by December, if it gets done, and EU summit is to happen by January. That's the plan, right? Then you are in a different league altogether. Yes, you will need USA for trade. Fine, you trade with them, whatever the trade is. If you can trade, you trade. Otherwise, forget it. You go to Brazil, you go to Japan, you go to everywhere else. You need Chinese technology, right? As much as you need Chinese technology, they need your markets. So the tussle is how much can you allow them to come in and how much you can block them out, right? Or complete foreign policy, the way we handle ourselves geopolitically has to be different, right? The worry is, can we handle the new difference? That's what I would worry about. And from what I can see, I mean, our external affairs ministers talk of the past 2 3 days, which have come in social media and otherwise. I think we are handling it well. There's no problem. There are no indications that your economy is going to falter at all. In fact, the reverse is true. There will be, in any relationship, there will be colds, coughs, and sneezes. That's what's going through with USA. Once that is done, like what Hari said, yeah, well, they'll come back. They have to come back. They invested in India. Why is Sam Altman coming here with his open AI? And that at a time, mind you, there's an AI bubble on in USA. The talk in USA is when will that bubble burst? Okay, if that bubble has to burst and it has to be offset or that puncture has to be repaired, they have to come to India to cut costs. And if they have to come and invest in India to cut costs, because the cost in USA is a hell of a lot in terms of manpower, in terms of also investment, right? If they do that, they're developing us. That's the problem. So if you look at it a macro point of view, I see things are completely different. We have problems. It's not as if we don't have problems. We have problems of not investing into our defense enough. Because as you grow economically, your military has to grow simultaneously alongside. That is the larger worry. Our larger worry is not external. Our larger worry is internal. Right? We have to get our act right internally. If we can get our act right internally, no mother's son can stop us. Back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. General Raj Shukla, clarity as far as America is concerned, they still are speaking with different voices. And I've done some research and from an American perspective on what is happening inside the Trump administration. I'm going to put out a monologue. It's still work in progress. General Shukla, saying something is not going to result anything. Why is the Trump administration still continuing to kind of verbally badger India? And India is not really responding to this. What do you think is going on?
See, I agree entirely with General Shankar that our economy is doing well. But now that you see we are in the big league, fourth largest, third largest economy or whatever, is a sound economy the only metric of a country that is rising? That's the point. Many of our economic advantages have not converted into military capacities, into manufacturing wherewithal. Those are the issues. Just economy. I mean, for 20 years, I have been hearing our economists say, oh, but our economy is doing well. But economies have to convert into prowess in EVs, solar panels, batteries, manufacturing capacities. If your economy is doing well, why is it that you cannot spare more than 1.98% of your GDP on defense? That's the point. So economy is just one metric. There are so many other conversions to do. And all my principal argument is that India's rise is inevitable, provided we do the other stuff. That other stuff is not happening. You mentioned SREE. Is US a military rival? Well, not immediately, but it is just my hunch when the Prime Minister spoke of Sudarshan Chakra, this defense citadel, he perhaps had in mind, he sensed that it is not only Pakistan, China, but others also can misbehave. Now, I don't want to raise the prospect at this point that we are a military rival, but there are many things that we need to worry about, which we can do. And if the Prime Minister senses it, why don't we, I and you? I mean, I'm not going to get into a military scuffle with the USA today, but in the long term, and the time to begin is now. These are the issues. Some of the things, let's take H1B. You are a master of it. I'm just read it from the newspapers. You see, when Lutnick argues, I'm saying his argument should be made by Indians. He's saying we want Indians, but only in the top quartile. We want Indians who are like Musk, the next Edisons. Not the rest. वो काम तो American ही कर देंगे. My argument is that if our talent is leaving abroad, why don't we go out of the way and say, please stay back, we need you here. हमारे यहाँ क्या फितरत है, जाना है तो जाओ. अरे टैलेंट जाना है तो जाओ. Talent should be held back. That talent can do so much good stuff in DRDO, in HL, in all of these places. So should we take, अभी भी जो H1B में जो विवाद चल रहा है USA में, should we make use of it? What did the Chinese do in the 1,000 talents plan and all that stuff? They got near Nobel laureates back. Somebody did stealth, somebody did quantum, somebody did missilery. हमारे अभी भी वो है कि जाना है तो जाओ. Why can't the Indians say that we will reform our Indian ecosystem, you please come back? So I am making this argument that India's greatness is almost guaranteed. Our economy is doing well, so many other indicators, marketplace. जो खामियां हैं उनको हम पूरी क्यों नहीं कर सकते? So, I mean, just let me say one last thing. Our approach is very Brahminical. कि भाई ये है, हम स्ट्रेटेजिक इकोनॉमी करेंगे, आपने करना है तो करो. थोड़ा पंजाबीश नहीं हो सकता है कि भाई अगर आप तो हम भी को तैयार हैं. I mean, that's my point. Let's shed some of this Brahminical stuff. Strategic autonomy, I have a quarrel. Strategic autonomy doesn't mean that you are friendless. आज आप हालत देखिए. The gap with China is almost unsurmountable. We have to admit it, and there are solutions. USA is no longer the trusted friend. Russia is a friend, but a declining big great power. So there are challenges. We must acknowledge that. Who is our technology partner? What do we need to do? So the sum and substance of my argument is that India is in a very good place. There is nothing to worry. A lot of things are going right, but we should not sit on our laurels. We yet have to compete to get into the first two slots of the global hierarchy, और उसमें बहुत कुछ करने को है. Manufacturing में, science and technology में, R&D में. Our greatness is not a done deal. Viksit Bharat is not a done deal. That's my argument.
Thank you so much, sir. And General Harimohan Iyer, initially when I introduced you, I made a mistake and I said General Harimohan Singh. See, I knew what General Shukla was going to say. Such durdrishti, you know. General Harimohan Iyer, Rajiv posed a question to you. Basically, this clarity that is there on India's side is not there on America's side. And I'm a little pained because what is happening is on the ground level, a lot of Indian American establishments, values, these are under attack, and for no fault of these people. And this, you know, I have a problem, and I'm going to make somebody the reason for my problem. That's what is happening, especially with MAGA. And who's going to sit down and explain to them that, look, this is not the real problem? That's my problem. General Harimohan Iyer, today a lot of Indian Americans without jobs, huge expenses in US, they're wondering what they need to do next. And I had actually did a program where Colonel Mayank Chaubey gave about 8 different sectors where India is looking for talent of the highest caliber. So I have done, at least in my opinion, my part. Your thoughts on how do we move forward, sir? Because we need to move forward. We can't stay where we are. In fact, we have to move forward faster. Over, sir.
So I'll take this to a new dynamic. You know, about a decade ago, there was a huge furor over this outsourcing thing. In fact, one of the American administrations was, you know, up and about as to why American companies are outsourcing and creating jobs in Bangalore and India. And so there was, and I think Trump was one of those voices in that count also. So what is going to happen if you cut down H1B? Outsourcing is going to increase because, like you said, one H1B is like 5 American jobs. What you pay one guy, you'll have to pay 5 guys and possibly 5 times each. So they'll end up paying 25 times the kind of money which is required to do the job currently being done by one person. Can they afford it? That's the first point. So what will these companies do? They'll shift them to offshore business, which means more jobs which are there with Americans will go out of America. Because it's just not that one H1B goes, it's the whole team which will get shifted. So companies like, I know of one, the AOL, which was a major offshore company in India till about a decade ago, then they went back. They'll possibly shift back. There are a large number of engineers who are working outside even the software business, and you are the best person to know that. So why are we worried about it? This H1B thing keeps coming up with every presidency. And then it dies its own death. So as an Indian, I will say, please maintain a little bit of patience, because these noises are being made in the beginning of every presidency, and especially Republican presidency, whether it was George Bush in his first one, or whether it was Trump in his first edition, and now Trump in his second edition. So it is a normal common fact, and because his vote base, like you said, is not in California. Our H1B imports are basically into the areas where electronics and IT industry is all about. So I see a large amount of jobs getting shifted offshore, which means companies like Google, Amazon, etc. are going to expand possibly in India, which means more job opportunities in India, which means, like General Raj Shukla said, our talent stays in India. Today we are struggling. In fact, I was always of the opinion, I think I mentioned last week, I went and saw that Superman movie recently, and I was staying back because I had gone with my son. There's some end credit which comes out after the credits roll out, so you're just waiting through the credits. Almost 80% of the technicians, especially the VFX technicians, all Indians. Either they have worked in US or the jobs have been outsourced to India. So what are we talking about? We can very much become the deco giant of the world tomorrow, provided our talent is harnessed. Like General Raj Shukla says, it is time we look inwards. It is time we ensure that talent is honored inside India. And possibly this is also a time to get out of, Brahminical bashing, get out of issues like, reservations in private sector, and start looking as an economy which is growing. Start getting people with talent into the jobs that they are supposed to do. That is something India has to look inwards. And I am very sure, personally, this is my take, that this H1B is a temporary phase. Very soon you will find this dragon vanishing without even a hiss. We'll go back to old system. People will continue getting hired. Possibly there will be some noise, and then huge number of waivers will come, and they'll go back to normal as it has happened in the last 2 decades. The last thing which I would like to say is, India's growth is something which is pivotal to both US and China. If India doesn't grow, the markets which the US and China are relying will also dry up. Today we are the largest business trading partner with these 2 countries. So it is in their own interest that they harness India as a growing nation and now stop neglecting us. Yes, there will be problems as far as our growing militarily is concerned. Yes, there will be a problem if we become the voice of the global south, which has happened in the last year. And I was expecting this kind of a repercussion coming from the US, because they don't like the global south to come and ask for an equal sitting table on the same table as they are sitting. So this was on the expected lines as I look at it. But again, I go back to that theory of mind. You have to hold these 2 powers in balance. And the only person who can do that in the current and the immediate future is India. I don't see anybody else. General Shankar said EU is a huge economy, fine. But EU itself is not united. There are too many fissures within EU. And that is something we can leverage on. We can play EU against EU by all these agreements that we do, and we can counterbalance USA with EU in the same manner. So, like I said, we shouldn't be worried. Yes, there is a little, I will call it a little itch, if I was to use the word, and let's get over it. Things will come back to normal. May not be a year and a half, 2 years. It's not going to affect us, because if you saw the last quarter, we grew faster. So as long as our growth doesn't get affected, and I am very sure this 25% tariff has to come off, because the American public is going to ask for it. It will be forced upon the administration to waive off this 25% penal penalty, because the American public is not going to see the cost of products going up. So we have to have a little bit of patience. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. General Raj Shukla, you wanted to come in there. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you see, now when the debates deepen, that is when reality strikes. And there are no easy answers, but we have to grapple with these questions. The point that what General Harimohan IYER was making is exactly the MAGA argument. MAGA argument. Steve Bannon says that you get Indian talent because it's cheaper. It's not that it's better. It is not that they are more talented. So companies who are doing business in USA learn to pay Americans. You have to pay. Now, right or wrong is a different matter. This is exactly the point I'm making. They are saying it's not talent. Talent is only in the very top of the quartile, where if there are Indians who are good as Musk or Satya Nadella, please get them. But the rest, you cannot get them in on grounds of talent when the issues of the payments that you make. Now, Hari makes the argument that they will offshore to India. Now, this is our big problem. India still, despite all the steps that having been taken, we know what the reality is of regulation, ease of doing business. And our ecosystem to change is a huge challenge. We all know it. It's not changing at the scale that it should. Our startups and all in their phase 2 are in deep trouble because regulation is coming back. Now, that is a typical Indian thing. We really have to get over it. The third point I would like to make is, Mr. Shashi Tharoor wrote an article that the Indian diaspora in US should speak up. I am saying we should stand up for them. Wo bichare kya kare? They are in a problem with Trump. We should start speaking up from them. They are in trouble. They have to make some hard choices. And the fourth point is, about the Chinese. So MAGA is making so much noise about correcting this, that, trade and all that kind of stuff. So I was curious to see what are the Chinese doing. And then I studied their 2 sessions, this great meeting which they had in March, April in the Great Hall, Beijing's Great Hall. And I was surprised that they are saying exactly what General Shankar said. Z said our economy is broken. Our economy is broken. And he listed out all those measures about empty cities, failing mortgages, and all that kind of stuff. And they said, we must fix it. Now, if that is the honest admission and you see the resolve to fixing it, perhaps they will do better. And they have rolled out specific plans for taking all this high-tech stuff, AI, ships, renewable energy, EVs, rare earths, batteries, to the next level. Now, that should worry us if any of this is right. That the Chinese, despite being an autocracy, are so honest in their conversations. And they are so resolute in their actions. And why I raise all these 4 points is, this is the challenge before India. We have weight, we have influence, we must not mistake it for power. Many countries in the past who have mistaken weight and influence for power have fallen by the wayside. Japan, Germany. And therefore it is a challenge before Indian statecraft. Of course it is our moment. 8 out of 10 indicators tell us that we are there, but we are not yet there. And we have to take, agile care of all these issues if we are to get there.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we'll go to some questions. Harimohan IRG has to leave at 9 o'clock in about 15 minutes. Sir, we'll try and see how many questions we go through, and then whenever it is time, you can take off.
Don't worry. Even if he goes, we'll continue. Not an issue.
No, we'll continue. We'll continue, of course. I just wanted to let our audience know. So, Harimohan IRG, we'll try to direct some questions that may be specifically to you, so that you have a chance to answer them. Let's go to the questions now, please. Venkatesh Shekhar, thank you so much. I received Sengol, excellent quality and finish. Very happy. Thank you. Thank you so much, Venkatesh ji. Next question, please. Akash Krishan Tadani. Sir, China is behind the curve, but consider the Americans. The latest iterations of Microsoft Windows 11 with Copilot are apparently a refined form of spyware. Your views. Let's start with Harimohan IRG this time. Sir.
Any software which comes out, it will come with some degree of data sharing and data acceptance. So whether it is Copilot coming out now with Windows 11, I think it came out with the Microsoft Edge latest version, if I'm not wrong. But that not saying, these softwares, whenever you use, we are always at the risk of sharing our own data. We need to be careful about what data we share, and possibly even more so our AI softwares like Copilot, which are free. Whether it is the DeepSeek of the Chinese or Copilot, which comes with Microsoft, they will definitely be used as kind of databases, data sources, and there's nothing very alarming about it. We should know how to negotiate these software. That's all I can say about it.
Thank you, sir. Next question, please. This is for General Shukla. General Shukla always has deep insight about what US and CIA wants. It's worrying that our generals know more about what US wants from India, but very little about what's good for India. General Shukla.
That's not a correct statement at all.
Backhanded compliment. Backhanded compliment never. Yes, I'll respond. For the last 10 minutes, we've been saying what we want from India. So I mean that may not be a correct thing. So I see. I will just say this, that I mean, I'll reiterate what I just said 4 or 5 minutes back. When I am critical of India, it is because, of course, I want India to do far better. Is it better to be critical before the event or to blame game after the event? So you must critique as much as you before the event. And we are all gung-ho and optimistic about India, but we also are realists. I mean, that is our strong point. And you see, what am I saying? We are saying whenever India wants to do well, look at DPI, how well we have done. We have so many successes in our bag, but on many other areas, we are lazy. Lazy means in the sense that we can do far, far better. I want to raise this question with any economist. Tell me, what is the logic of if our economy is thriving so much? Why should we spend only 1.98% on defense? Is this not lazy? And should I not question it? Should not every right-thinking Indian question it? So in that sense, I know what India needs and I articulate what it wants. So the first compliment, I say thank you. The second part of your question or comment is not fair.
Thank you, sir. Would the other two generals like to add to that?
Absolutely.
Look, I've always been of the opinion that we should be spending anything between 2.5 to 3%. And the thing is, if you spend 2.5 to 3% of your GDP into defense, investing into defense has a multiplier effect on the economy as a whole.
Of course,
and there's
of course.
technological, this is what General Raj Shukla and I have been discussing. In fact, all three of us have been discussing this point. It's not an original, Einstein theory which I'm putting it out. And it, apart from the, multiplication effect of on the economy, there's a multiplication effect on technology. You see, with the thrust today on a lot of people coming with new technologies, you spend more on new technologies, you will get more new technology out. Technology is also like a well. The more you put into the well, the more you can draw out of it. Okay. And here we must copy the Chinese model. The Chinese took technology like, duck to water. So I think we need to do that. We need to have our internal thinking right. We need to this thing. And just for the sake of everyone who's listening and whatever India Win says, if you think that we don't know what India needs and what's good for India, then I think you are watching the wrong show. Okay. And you are looking at the wrong guys talking about it. All three of us have sweated our lifetime to ensure that India does what is right. Okay, I must tell you this. Yeah. Back
Can I
to
just
you.
add one thing, Sriji? Very quickly.
Yeah. Please go ahead, sir.
So, he spoke about the CIA. So I just got reminded that Palantir, which is doing so well today, it first got its funds from the CIA Venture Capital Fund. CIA's Venture Capital Fund. So my argument is that there's so many smart Indian startups. Let the DIA fund them. The DIA should fund them. पहले आप funding करो, फिर वो संभालेंगे. So these are the good things about the Americans, which I keep talking about, and I hope they happen in the Indian context.
Absolutely, sir. The name of the company is InQtel. INQTEL. That is the CIA organization. They don't make any, they don't hide it. It's known in the valley wherever you are seeking funding. people ask, have you sought out In-Q-Tel, especially if it looks like some cutting edge technology. So very, very known. General Harimohan Iyer, would you like to add to this question, or I can go to the next question?
I just wanted to say, right, all the three of us throughout the show have been saying we have to look internally. We have been emphasizing on this fact that India has to get its act together. It shows that we are more concerned about India than the rest of the world. And I am very sure when we get our act together, we will become the game player of the world order in the future. So there is no light to say that we know more about others. We are more internal looking than looking outwards.
Yeah, sir, to be fair to the questionnaire, sometimes the question gets asked before we all have had our say. So I think let's move on to the next. Yeah, let's move to the next question, please. Garvesh, thank you so much. This is for General Ravi Shankar. What has come of Victor Gao and his idea of taking over the plains of Gangas by enticing the Nepalis? Any thoughts?
Look, nothing will happen. It's not an easy thing. Victor Gao is a loose cannon with a big mouth. Okay. So I've been reading all his articles, and he keeps talking all nonsense. We must also understand, for all its greatness, China is a communist system. And in communist system, you have a lot of loudspeakers going around, blaring around. He's one of them. But the thing is, at times he comes out with some things which actually make a lot of sense. Okay. And that thing, that he talks of the Ganges line, and how if you take over Nepal and how the Ganges line is vulnerable. Fundamentally it should strike a chord in us, right? I mean, for those of you who don't know what his thing is, his postulate is: look, in the north and the western end of the LAC, India is very tough. That he talks of the central and the northern sector. You can't be broken. East, India is very tough. But where India is weak, as per him, is Nepal. And that you make inroad into Nepal, then you are on the Gangetic Plains. He says, I have to threaten that. That's his larger postulate. It's not so easy to happen. I mean, it takes a long time. It might be 1-2 centuries ahead. By then, whether we don't know, China itself will remain the way it is, because China itself is an unnatural kind of a construct. So we leave it at that, right? We should do what we have to do. The major thing which he points out a flaw in our thinking is how to handle Nepal. Is our Agniveer scheme right or wrong? Actually that the Nepali Gurkhas coming into our army is a huge investment into the future, which you cut off. So there's a major thing which you have to think of. It's just not Victor Gao who we have to think of.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to the next question. General Raj Shukla ji, it's for you. Now, namaskar to all the panel members. Sir, is there not a difference between China's rise and India's rise? US shifted all their manufacturing into China for their advantage, but India is rising on its own.
Sharp question. Before this, this point that the genius of General Shankar is that he sees prospective wisdom even in established fools. Victor Gao ne jo baat kahi, it suddenly struck me. It's very worrying. And sir, we are factoring that into what we are doing. We have to step up our game. He's pretty right there. You see, now this is a difficult question to answer. China rose in when the international system was very different. But what could we emulate the Chinese? See, they have been pretty smart about two things. The narration that they put out to the world was peaceful rise. It was deception, massive strategic deception. And the push that they gave to their own people, their soldiers, their bureaucrats, their Politburo members, was 100-year marathon. 100 saal mein we have to beat the Chinese. So it was a sophisticated strategic narrative. In our case, I would rather say that we speak softly but carry a big stick, of late where the Indian narrative is going wrong and we should correct is that we have been speaking loudly with the not too sharp a stick. So our rise, I made this point, it is prospective, it is not inevitable. We have to work on it. And as we work on it, we have to be careful with the narrative. Speak softly with a stick that you constantly refine and make powerful, and not speak loudly without a sharp enough stick. That would be the worst thing to do. And the last point I would like to make is this, and this is with the consideration of the other two panelists. In some areas, the gap with China has become almost insurmountable. I'm not saying in the military sense, I'm saying in the strategic military industrial capacity sense. So does it make sense at this point to say that we have rebalanced to the north? We have a lot of technologies with which we can ensure a posture which makes sure that there is fail-proof deterrence along the NAC. But with the larger China challenge, we go into the détente, which many countries in the past have done, which is buying time till we build capacities. Because the worst thing would be to sleepwalk into conflict. We should guard very much against the latter with China.
Would either of you like to comment on that question,
See,
General Shankar?
okay, let me put it this way. I don't visualize China also doing anything because China has its own internal problems. And China doesn't want to walk into a problem, irrespective of the great, divide and there's a big differential between the military capabilities of China and India when you take it in the overall sense. But when you put those military capabilities down on ground, the differential is not much. And the reason is this, when you read the Chinese thinking, when you read their writings and their opinions and their actual writing, for the first time, I see that they started thinking defensively and they've written defensively. For the first time in my life, I see them writing, we will have a defensive line. If India comes up to 30 kilometers, this is what we should do. If they come up to 100 kilometers, this is what we should do. If they come to 200 kilometers, this is what we should do. Never thought this. And this is it's an exhibition of a psychology, right? The Chinese thinking has changed. Yeah, I go with what General SHUKLA says, that you get into some kind of a detente with China, which is already operational in a peripheral manner. This Kazan meet, this meet with where our Prime Minister went and met Xi Jinping now, is not detente in the classical sense, but it is a roundabout manner, it's a detente. And the commission, putting about that boundary commission, all that. And on ground also, there's not much rhetoric from the Chinese side about, this. And interestingly, and this is a program which I'm going to do maybe day or two because I'm still into the research part of it. I see a huge number of articles on almost a daily basis from hardcore Mandarin websites. And they talk differently about India. I didn't get this idea of India being a fifth pole. It is a Chinese idea. Yesterday, I read an article which actually it is thought-provoking, right? It talks of India showing the mirror to China. And what he talks of, he says India is showing a spiritual mirror to China. I couldn't have dreamt of such an article coming, say, even 1 year back, 6 months back. And this is an interaction between a top economist who came to Bombay and had an interaction with the RBI governor. That's the level. And I'll put it out. In fact, I'm putting about 5-6 such articles, put it out. There's a change in the way China sees India. And we need to grasp that movement. And the way to grasp that movement is what we've been arguing. You have to look internally. The internal transformation is more. The internal thing is more than bothering about what China will do, what USA will do. We probably have to go back to the time when go back to the last century when USA was a giant which looked internally. We probably have to go back for the next 15-20 years on that basis. Forget about Pakistan. Pakistan will be what it is. Okay, you don't have to pick up a fight with Pakistan. Do what you have to do internally. Do the right things internally. Things will be okay.
I just
General
want to add,
Harimohan, yeah,
I
go
just
ahead,
wanted
sir.
to
Go ahead,
add-
sir. Yeah.
Firstly, I wanted to add one thing on the Nepalese thing. You see, about two and a half decades ago, the communists started arriving in the Nepalese political sphere. Okay, there was a huge amount of risk that the red corridor, which was cutting across India, is going to get influenced by the Chinese through Nepal. In the last 2 decades, we have totally taken it out of the equation. Today, the communists are finding it very difficult to survive inside Nepal, leave alone dominate Nepal. So, for China to use Nepal in the manner in which the previous question was being posed, I don't see it happening. And like General Shankar said, we are well poised for it. And just like what is happening in the northern front or the eastern front, I guess our central sector is also being taken care of. Over a period of time, we will become strong over there. As far as what General Shukla said, I also go by the same analogy. If you want to correct your systems inside, you can't be, taken out of your focus by some external agencies. And in the current scheme of things, I don't see Pakistan as an irritant more than something which has some political implications. China is, and it is time we take possibly a kind of a situation where we put these issues behind and start creating a kind of an environment where we can grow and not get distracted because we have what we ourselves proclaimed a couple of decades ago as our main adversary in the north. So if we can put this thing behind, grow, and like General Shukla says, a detour, I agree totally with it. It is also possible that these small irritants like 20 odd minor land disputes can be resolved. I personally feel it can be. Having seen at least 8 of these friction points in Ladakh over the last 3-4 years, there is no reason why we are, not able to find a solution for these 8 or 9 friction points. Our larger worry is possibly if you give up these 8 or 9 friction points, he'll ask for another 80. So that is something which is possibly holding us back. But a consolidated effort as a nation, we can resolve the Chinese issue and we can possibly concentrate on our growth. That is something very much possible that we can rise by looking into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I know you said you had to go at 9 o'clock. It just crossed 9 o'clock. Thank you so much, sir. And we look forward to seeing you again next Monday. Next question is for General Raj Shukla. Ganeshan wants to know, well-protected India will surge to second position after China. What else is required, sir?
So, if I just have to turn this into a catchphrase, it will be twofold. All that we need to do is build capacity, and turn that into deterrence, and deterrence. Bas. Or kuch nahi karna. And I tell you how capacities make a difference. Some sensible Americans that I was speaking to, and I hope they are sensible, they were saying, the problem kya hai, that whenever to balance China, we count on you. What happens even in the South Asian region is that the Chinese just flood the prospective, target. It could be any of these countries around us. They flood them with infra, funds, EVs, solar panels. You can't keep pace. So that's what got me thinking that what we really need is capacity. And many of these manufacturing civil capacities directly affect military prowess, if not indirectly. So it is capacities, deterrence. And that will ensure that, there is peace between us and China.
Next one, please. General Ravi Shankar, this is for you, sir. Ashish wants to know, India is looking forward to Putin's visit. US is on slow burner as per our alignment geopolitical strategy. And we are looking to normalize fully with China at some point.
Yeah, look, ideally we should be normalizing our relations with China fully at some point of time. But I don't see that happening. Because you see, we also have to understand that the Chinese are hard bargainers. They're not going to give up. And if they give up, or or you come to a solution on the border, it needs a lot of political capital on either side, even for China and for us too, because there has to be some give and take. While everyone wants a give, no one wants a take in this. Politically, there's no take. Politically, they all want take. There's no give. Okay, it is just not India doesn't have political capital, even China doesn't have political capital. And considering the fact that Xi Jinping is coming to the end of his third term, and I mean he's where he is, he's coming to rather the later part of his reign. We don't know how long it will last, and he's got huge internal problems. I don't think they have the political capital to make a bargain. The only space politically we have between India and China to strike a note is to have a peaceful border. That's it. Right? Even that's a hard fact. We must understand. Even our government is a coalition government. Okay? A wrong step, that step might be in the right direction. If it is politically wrong, the government might go. So no one will take this risk of coming to a political settlement with each other, especially when both are on the growing up path. Look, the aspiration of China is to still continue to grow. We are on an aspiration of 7% growth. If you have a border agreement with China, which impinges on this growth in some manner, people will say, let the border be where it is. This is the real politic of this whole story.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Thank you, Akshay Iyer. This is for General Raj Shukla. Can we have small caliber AK-630 for Army Mobile CIWS again? Swarm drone. Sorry for, I don't know what DEV means. On topic or deviating from the topic, will US and PRC come together temporarily against India?
See, on the first point, I have been of late studying this dronery bit and also counter aerial systems. I'm not sure what this AK-630 is, but in broad terms, the answer are only lie in two issues. One is lasers and the other is microwaves. The others, many of these things are in Ukraine, laser guided machine gun and all that. But what the real, shall we say, military ascendancy will come from our capacities in lasers and microwaves. And that, I'm afraid, we have not made very much headway. The chess has not made much progress. The Israelis, I am told, have recently made major breakthroughs in laser, because that in the long run, in fact, that is the key challenge. Drones are coming up in such an overwhelming manner that the country which masters counter drones is going to be the military lead. And AK-630 and all may be, what we call as Jugadu solutions, but they are not the real strategic answers. So we really need to invest in a lot of R&D of lasers, microwaves, counter drone systems, because swarm drones are a reality. In fact, if I may just point to two trends of the future which are unstoppable now. Anybody who opposes it is on the wrong side of history. One is that anything which fires must become intelligent. So I'm making a case of our entire dumb artillery to become precise. There are projects in which it can be done. And the second is that anything that moves must become automated. That is the future. You can keep resisting it, and my very dear Air Force friends are doing that. I would strongly advise them that unmanned is the future, of course, in the right mix of piloted and unmanned. So that's my take. General Shankar will have something.
Yeah, no, I go with him. There's no doubt about it. You have to automate and be precise to the extent possible. And you have to invent your own technology. At the end of the day, you have to invent your own technology. No one is going to give you technology. Right? And I keep saying, this is what I'm doing. I guess I'm endeavoring to do in IIT Madras. And dare say a couple of technologies have already landed on ground. More will come. It's a matter of time.
Next one, please. Prasad wants.
The biggest lie of my career, which we bought into, was transfer of technology. That the Americans will transfer technology to us.
No, we never knew. We always knew it's not going to come. It
Next
was
one, please.
politically for people to understand. Anyway,
This is for you, General Shankar. Prasad wants to know, as per recent statements from government and army, is Pakistan planning any attacks? If Pakistan makes any misadventures again, will US and China back Pakistan?
yeah, you know what? I think the government has gone awfully wrong, and I make no bones about it. But all the air chief and the army chief and the defense minister of talking of Pakistan attack in a matter of 24 hours, in some form or the other. Okay, it's poor strategic communication. It's not poor intent or whatever it is. All three people are very good people, but this is our problem. Our problem is strategic communication. If we lack anything besides technology, it's strategic communication, and that's it. And Pakistan is in no state to attack us, so just forget about it.
Next one, please. Arunachal Mudgalikar wants to know, this is for General Shukla, our real competition is not with US, China, anybody else, but with our own poverty and backwardness?
Yeah, of course. You see, in the larger sense, I think Arunachal is absolutely right. If Chinese per capita GDP is 30% that of USA, and I think our per capita GDP is just 10% of USA, we have a long way to go and to eradicate poverty and backwardness and all. But now here comes the question. The constant argument in India is that because we have poverty and backwardness challenges, we must not invest in defense. Now that unfortunately is not the right conclusion to draw. It was precisely the mistake we made in 62. You see, people are not going to wait for you to overcome your poverty before they have strategic designs. So this argument of defense versus development, I don't buy into this argument. You have to constantly upgrade your defense preparedness by, I'm not saying go berserk now, but better investments in defense. And the larger question is this: 60 to 70% of the transformations that the Indian defense strategic military system need are budget agnostic. They are structural, cultural, theater commands, cross-pollination, how you look at procurement. They have got nothing to do with budgets. So it's a whole combination of measure. But unfortunately, the oversimplification is this: that defense is not productive, development is productive. So whenever you lag in development, cut defense. That is not the right argument.
Next one, please. General Shankar, it's for you, sir. What about Islamic Union, European Union, and Russian Slavics? I think it's multi-cornered chess game.
I think we should just forget about all this. We shouldn't be going all around the world looking at so many things. Yeah.
Next one, please.
It's not worth of time. Yeah.
General Shukla, this is for you. BSS, thank you so much. Tame the bull. China did it to become a 20 trillion economy.
Which bull is he referring to?
Oh, I think US.
US? How do you tame the US? So, you see, I would have, if the relationship had gone on as the way it was going, I thought we were in a pretty good space. But in comes Trump and MAGA, and they have their own theories. That is the reality. So we have to deal with it. And I agree with General Shankar. We have many options. India is not a player that you can trifle around with like you do with Pakistan. So if the Indo-US relationship is not working, as we demonstrated, we have options. May not be the best options. We have options in the RIC. We have options to our east with ASEAN, the global south. And the best option we have is autonomy, autonomous capacities. So I would much rather, romance the bull. But if the bull is not reciprocating, then we have to find some imaginative pathways.
Next question to General Shankar. Varadan wants to know, India can build Embraer airplanes with Brazil, which meets India's domestic needs quite well. Your view, sir?
Yeah, it can, but we are not there as it. We still have to meet. I think their vice president is coming here this month, later this month, and then we'll see where it goes.
Next one,
Here I
please.
want to ask General Shankar one thing. He's been associated with the IITs so closely. What is the real problem? I mean, we have the talent. Is it funds? Is it investments? Why are we
Structure.
lagging behind in technology? What-
Structure. Our structure is weak. It's a structure. Our structure is useless. I'm making it open. Our structure is useless. I did a video with Sandeep Punithan, right? And then I put it out. You see, I mean, let me also sound it out. We want to put technology top down. Unless you put get technology bottom up, you can't make it happen. Ideally, we should fund the CEO or the brigade commander, send 4-5 interns and startups to them, and say, look, here are the funds, here, you do what you want. It doesn't matter what you do, just get some technological solution. It might be just to cook dal in high altitude. Okay. But whatever you do, whatever you spend on, get a technological solution for a real life problem at unit level. Get the technological awareness at the bottom. The day you do that, the units will start fighting with technology, next gen technology. Then everything is QED. We don't have that. We have to
You may be,
think.
you may be
You have
so
to think.
right. You may be so right. The Ukrainian Nemesis battalion took over when they inducted AI and data engineers directly into units.
Directly into units.
The Americans, what they have done now, Hexeth has signed an order which says that no drone procurement in Pentagon. Drones will be procured by CEOs and equivalents. They
But-
have been given orders to test, try, procure, and induct. So, if you give powers there at the grassroots level, I think technology will flow far faster.
And the grassroots level is the one who understands technology the best. They need technology the best. They will put it on use in ground. So I think that is where we have to go. We are thinking ulta completely. Well, I suppose some value will come in due course.
Next question, please. This is for General Shukla. Do you think investment in defense would work without merit and competence in DRDO and other nationally important PSUs? Avinash wants to know.
So, Avinash, you are spot on. I've been making this argument that mediocrity in national security will not deliver. You need high talent. And the example is this DET 201, which the Americans have created. So, CTOs of Palantir, Thinking Machine Labs, and Dural, inducted as lieutenant colonels, acknowledging that these high-end technologies are beyond the military. They have to come with such talent. In our case, you're absolutely right. DRDO, HAL, AMCA will not come with engineers whom you pay 2.5 lakhs. They have to be those things which we were just talking of, 1,000 talents plan. The Chinese got Nobel laureates back. We have to acknowledge that this stuff is not happening. DRDO chief needs to be allowed very flexible recruitment models. For select disciplines, he should be able to select and pay the best in the world. And so I therefore entirely agree with you. What we have reduced our DRDO and PSUs, there are honorable exceptions, by and large mediocrity. Or we get the ISRO model, which is very highly motivated in a different sense, because the regulation is less, the bureaucracy is not so much more. So they are directly linked to these strategic priority tasks. So that kind of modeling needs to be done. And look at the great irony. 4 years back, DRDO was told, reform. We want you to reform. 4 years later, the plan that they have produced is so drab that the PMOs had to tell them that change the plan. Why do these reform initiatives not come from the apex? I mean, why should Chairman DRDO not be able to conceive his own reform plan? Why should somebody from the top tell him? This is what General Shankar is saying. We are constantly wait ki upar se koi batayega. So it is mediocrity, aspiration. DRDO, PSUs in their current form, I'm afraid, will not deliver on cutting edge military needs of the Indian military.
Next question to General Shankar. Sir, we have about 12 questions left. Shall we continue? We'll try to do it quickly.
Yeah, your choice. I mean,
General
Raj,
Shankar.
if you have, no, Raj, ask Raj if he's.
I'm okay. I'm
Okay, sir. Yeah, we will go through these quickly. Sensible wants to know, General Shankar, to the entire panel, how can Bharat improve the R&D both at the defense and also the industry levels?
He's just said it. General Raj Shukla has just outlined a whole lot of things. Right? You have to open it up. You have to open it up. And that's what I've been also talking of. You have to go to the grassroots. Right? You have to get other industry in, other thinking. Unless you think technology, it doesn't happen. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think we've dealt on this quite a bit. I'm not trying to sidetrack this thing, but I think this is what we've spoken. Yeah.
If I can just, can I just throw in some data on this?
Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
America, to my knowledge, spends $975 billion on R&D. $700 billion come from the private sector. 700. In our case, the private sector does not think there is any need to spend on defense. Constantly, I hear quarterly profit. And this is not the way big countries think. And how much you invest in R&D will tell you where you are tomorrow. So we really have to step up on R&D. The government is still doing something. Some 1 lakh crores of this Anusandhan has been set up. But the private sector doesn't
come up.
Next question, please. This is to you, General Shukla. Thank you so much, Dr. Gantayet. Jana hai to jao is good policy to let go who won't contribute.
यानी मैं तो उल्टा कह रहा हूँ भाई आप अच्छे हो मत जाओ. See, we really have to change our whole outlook towards this. And let me make a larger point. India has chosen a system where our civil services will largely deliver on all domains, science, technology, R&D. That's the way we have fashioned it. Why should we pay the cabinet secretary only 2.5 lakhs? Why are we not willing to pay for talent? I'm told Singapore, which has got a good civil services model, the civil servant in Singapore is paid even better than the private sector. Now, I'm not saying go all the way that way, but ये जो हमारा पूरा ये है कि भाई talent हो गए लेकिन चवन नहीं देंगे आपको. ये कौन सी? Where does this come from? Why can't we reward talent? And I'm also saying the government should say, SREE ji, why are you sitting abroad? Please come back. If you don't want to come back, somebody others. भाई talented आदमी छोड़ के जा रहा है तो हमको मुश्किल होनी चाहिए. हम खुश क्यों होते हैं कि भाई जाना है तो जाओ. I just don't agree with this at all. We need to outreach to talent. And we are at what phase today? Say the organization that I come from, UPSC, as far as fairness and the other issues are concerned, it's doing a very good job. We need now to migrate to this high talent model, where high talent must come into the civil services. The NSA started off on a good note, where we said 50% will be government, 50% will be non-government. Now we have made it virtually 100% government. So talent needs to be respected in my view. I don't know what General Shankar thinks.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Next question, please. Milban Cherian wants to know, and this question is for General Shukla. Do you think that our education system was grooming our children to work for big corporates? So many left for the US. Why can't our children dream big here?
See, children can dream big here also. I mean, I am also a child of India and I dreamt big. And I haven't done too badly. ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया में बिल्कुल ही मुश्किल है. General Shankar is there. So many good civil servants, businessmen, technologists. ऐसा नहीं है कि India is doomed. But I'm saying if the top quartile are going to USA and Americans have a problem with that H-1B, why should we not pick them back? As far as our education system is concerned, I have a comment. I recall my schooling days. Education was fun. It was very wide angled. I remember my chemistry teacher in Lucknow would say on a Friday कि यार ये बहुत हो गई chemistry, ये लो शेक्सपियर पढ़ के आओ. मंडे को शेक्सपियर डिस्कस करेंगे. It was wide angled. It was not so bookish. Of late, we are producing more true and false wonders. More schooling, less education. I would say we must dampen the schooling and grow the education, because what the real world needs is education. A few minutes back, we were talking of clarity. I read somewhere in the speaking tree in Times of India about 2 months back that true Vidya is not knowledge, it is clarity. Now, these are the higher aspects of education which our system needs to encourage. Of late, we have got too captured by this written exam, true and false, match the following. So we are producing more true and false wonders than deep tech entrepreneurs or scientists. तो उस सिलसिले में कुछ गड़बड़ हुआ है. We need to correct it. I can't pinpoint what it is.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Thank you, Rakesh Chopra, for becoming YouTube member. Next question to General Ravi Shankar. Sensible, thank you so much. Revamp our education so that Bharat has top R&D. General Shankar.
Yeah, I think we need to. See, part of our story is we need to get our education right. That's what General SHUKLA was talking of. If you want to do R&D, you need to have an inquisitive mind. If you need to have an inquisitive mind, you need to think differently. You can't say always 1 + 1 is equal to 2. Have you examined if 1 + 1 equal to 11? So I think that's it. Yeah, we need to ensure offshore work is manufacturing also. Yeah, a lot of things. See, the reforms in our country are huge. The headroom for reform is also huge. If you increase, see, today our manufacturing is about 12-13% of our GDP. You just increase it every year by 1 year. In 5 years, you will be a manufacturing power. More than that, it's not good also. Let me put it this way. Because manufacturing requires more energy, you require more water, and it leads to more ecological problems and environmental issues, which are counterproductive to our population, right? So you just have to increase about 5 to 6% over the next 5-6 years. That's it. You will be in a different space altogether. As far as manufacturing is concerned, same things for education. You have a very good education system. Everyone envies our education system. Okay, it's not as if our educational system is bad. We shouldn't run it down. But can you tweak that education system to make it look wide angle, broader, and make it more interesting, more fun, where people are more in? That's how it is. Same thing for our R&D system. The tweak required is very little. It's probably the last mile connectivity which we need. If we can get that going, we will be unstoppable.
Next question, please. Ajit Kumar, thank you so much for becoming YouTube member. AM Kamath wants to know, can India make physical fitness a national priority? Very little investment in school and neighborhood gyms, swimming pools, etc. General Raj Shukla.
Yeah, certainly. Kamath, AM Kamath is thinking like Pete Hegseth.
Good, but
National
no, we
security.
need physical fitness.
Certainly, we need more schools, playgrounds. And here I would again get back to that, education bit. I recall my days in school. Even if you were doing well in school, you came back, did a hour of homework, went and played hard for 2 hours, came back and again did some homework. आजकल तो वो बेचारा आता नहीं है स्कूल से, क्लास 8 से उसको हम बिठा देते हैं पढ़ाई के लिए. This is the point I'm making. Why is fitness, sports? It is all part of the curriculum. When I retired, I was just pulling out my card, Ulamat near Lucknow, and the teacher there writes, he's doing well in academics. The principal writes, so what if he's doing well in academics? Why does he play only one game? So these are the things, this wide-angled view of education, which includes physical fitness. I'm all for it. I'll just come, sir, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. General Ravi Shankar, Arunachal wants to know, the local representatives are rolling in ill-gotten money and clamoring for more allocations, decentralization leading to increasing corruption?
Yeah, that's part of a democratic system. I mean, one way of looking at it is decentralization means corruption, but then you have to accept it. You have to accept it and get going. Some amount will always go out, right? And we don't have a choice in that. Either that with that, or we don't have a democratic system.
Next question, please. Thank you, Saurabh Sabarwal. Teaching tariffs, teaching Asian region identification of friend and foe. It's teaching us to diversify and explore for new markets. General Shukla, sir, your views. You can answer this question, sir.
Yeah. There's no doubt. We have to learn slowly who is our friend and foe. One. Number two, friends and foes change with your own growth. As you grow, as you become more important in the world, you'll have more friends and less foes. It's a natural corollary. Okay, and with that, as you grow and you become more technologically proficient and you have a bigger manufacturing base and you have a bigger trading base, you will also start exploiting new markets. Add to this the kind of trust India generates in the world. You see, this is one of the great powers of India, is that people trust us. We need to use this and expand outwards. I am with you on this. You have to diversify. There's no choice with us. Yeah.
Next one, please. Sir, this was. Would you like to add to this, General Shukla?
Yeah, so I mean, General Shankar has already answered, but I'll just add one more thing, and that is this: see, where India is today, the fact that we are rising, it is my view that this rise will be undermined by neighbors, adversaries, competitors, and friends alike. It should not surprise us that US has suddenly started viewing us as a rival. This will happen when you rise. And the other issue is our trust is very good, our soft power is very good. We must also invest in hard power, because people also smell the coffee in terms of power. In the South Asian region today, many of the countries which should have been natural allies with India are turning towards China because they sense the power imbalance. So power also matters. So while trust and the other things are very important, power also matters. ASEAN, I really wonder why have we not done more towards ASEAN. I have 2 points to say here. When we stayed out of the RCEP, perhaps we were in error. Because unless our domestic business learns how to compete, how will we ever do well? Protectionism is important in certain areas, maybe agriculture, soya and all that. But largely we have to learn to compete. And these things make a difference. I'm told the Chinese ASEAN market today, or trade today, is larger than US EU. And India is not so plugged into ASEAN because we were wanting to protect our domestic markets. We have need to find a way of becoming less protectionist in these areas.
Srinivas, thank you so much. This is for you, General Shukla. Love General's thoughts. We need at least a few world-class cities to attract talent back to India. It's not just about money, also quality of life.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, the fact that we have messed up Gurgaon is shameful. The fact that I grew up in Bangalore, SREE, it was such a lovely city. Today, it has become a traffic nightmare. You speak to friends there, they say, "Yaar, Bangalore mein nahi, मैं दिल्ली आऊँगा आपसे मिलूँगा." यहाँ 3 घंटे लगते हैं.
Very true, very true, sir.
Very live issues. I'll give you a very solid example. So when I was the army commander, there was a startup which we were mentoring. It was very good in semiconductors. So I happened to speak to the UP government, and we got them priority, shall we say, land and some other measures in Noida. But these startups came to me and said, "Sir, the talent that we want to work in semiconductors is in Bangalore, and they are not prepared to move out because Noida doesn't measure up to Bangalore." Imagine this. Noida doesn't measure up to Bangalore. So it is a problem. with talent, you really need to create these world-class cities. And I would have said, yeah, it was a very snobbish thing to say till I came across this example. And that guy was superbly talented, but he was saying, no, world-class schools Bangalore mein hai, or golf course वगैरह Noida mein. These are real issues. I didn't know there was such an issue with these talented people. So world-class cities, definitely.
Next question. Thank you so much. Gold is money, rest is credit. USD hegemony is rooted in euro dollars, milkshake system and petrodollar. This hegemonic leverage to print out of any situation, slam tariffs, etc., can only be countered by non-US Treasury neutral reserve. What are you trying to say, my dear brother? I don't know what the question here is, but we'll take it as an advisement. Last question for both of you, gentlemen. Let's go with start with General Shankar. Thought provocator, thank you again. Education is reduced to tuition. Ideologies replace ideas. Your thoughts?
Yeah, there is a problem. That's what we said. Education has to be broad-based. And today there's too much ideology going around. And unfortunately, one of the problems which India is going to face is back to ideological roots. Right? We're going to have this problem. And to think that anything which is open to look at two sides of a problem or three sides of a problem is being woke or non-conformist or not doing a particular line is bad. And the thing with an ideology, I have no problem with an ideology also. But the problem is that when the ideology becomes political, it becomes lethal. It becomes toxic. If you have to be more political and more ideological in your thing, you will become Pakistan. See, where is Pakistan? No, I'm not joking. What's the problem with Pakistan? Islam has entered science. I mean, I'll give a raw equivalent. What if Hinduism starts entering science? Look, there is no gainsaying the fact Hinduism is good. We need to nurture it. We need to be progressive about it. It's the most reformed religion in the world. Okay, be proud of it, but don't apply science into it. Don't say that no, Ravana did this, so that must be start applying it into science, quantum technology today, and say we had quantum technology, then put it here. No, it doesn't work. Don't mix both. Keep both separate. Be proud of our, ideology, religion, and everything, and also be proud of your science and all that, and keep them apart. The day you mix them, you're done. Then you'll become Pakistan in a different manner.
Thank you, General Shankar. It could be also Marxist ideology. Sometimes ideology usually means Marxist.
I just taken Hinduism as an example with Pakistan, because there it is radical Islam. It could be my Marxism and this red ideology also. I have no problem with it.
General Shukla, would you like to add to that, sir?
So let me just outline another facet. Mark Twain, when he was once asked as to what made him so successful, he gave a cheeky answer, but in my view, a lot of truth in it. He said, I always took care in life never to let my schooling interfere with my education. India has got too much schooling, less education. That is the point. I think what General Shankar also was making. I keep going back to my schooling years. We were asked to explore religion, read the Ramayana, read the Christ. And I remember discussing it with my father. Read, explore, curiosity. We got bored, Sriji. Aajkal to log bore hi nahi hote. We got bored, so you reached out to a book. You got bored, so you reached out to the commentary of Christopher Martin Jenkins. Bore hote the. Aajkal bore hi nahi hote. That's one point and secondly, what is really worrisome is this My Baap Sarkar. I mean, UPSC today is a very sought after metric of, equalizing in life. In a system where we know that 99% of the applicants will fail, yet people keep coming. Why is it the whole narrative not changing to setting up companies, setting up startups? It is happening, but at a slow rate. When I go abroad, I meet a youngster, he says, I set up 5 companies, 3 collapsed, 2 are still doing well. India mein he will say, sir, I just appeared for the civil services, I got through the customs, now I am upgrading to IAS. ये कब तक चलता रहेगा? So our whole getting Sarkar off our back, and also getting off this whole Sarkari capture, that needs to be done. And I think the next phase of our growth will come from the private sector and startups. And therefore, in that sense, our education needs to change.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And we'll be back again next Monday with a new topic. Once again, viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel wherever you're watching, whether it's Ghana Shot or P Gurus. Do subscribe to our channel and encourage our good journals. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Good night. Good night. Thank you.